live and subsequent broadcast by the way of the council's internet site. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the council. As you will see from the agenda papers, generally the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. Members dialing in remotely, please only turn your camera and microphone on when you wish to speak, and please remember to switch it off when you have finished. Also, could you ensure that you refrain from using any mobile devices during the committee and that any devices are on silent? Thank you. Okay, do we have any apologies this morning?
Yes, Chair, from Councillor Gordon.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gordon. Are there any declarations of interest in this morning's business?
Passive. Only authorities except for the elected members.
Okay, so we'll move then to the minutes of the last meeting, which are on pages 3 to 8. We'll begin with page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Six. 7. Page 8 is blank. Are there any matters arising from those minutes? Could I have someone then to propose them as a true recording? Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Seconded by Councillor Ryan. Thank you. Then we move on then to item 4, which is ward meetings, which can be found on pages 9 to 16.
Committee, so the paper that's been shared with the committee today is around ward meetings. So we're looking at possible changes to the support provided in facilitating those ward meetings with residents. So some of you may remember when neighbourhood meetings, as they were called then, were introduced in the 1990s. These were on a very structured, formal basis, and then actually changed significantly over time with the evolving governance arrangements. There was a further review back in 2011, and that getting support of new officers at the meetings to support them taking place. As many of you will know, during COVID, those face-to-face meetings ceased to happen, so there weren't any ward meetings, and they haven't been reinstated as yet. So ward meetings are one of a range of ways to engage with residents, so there are lots of different ways of making representations and engaging feedback from the people that you represent. Under section 39 of the Local Government Elections Act, we are required to encourage local government to participate in decision making. And under section 40, this committee did a considerable amount of work last year and this year, preparing a participation strategy and defining the terms and requirements of that strategy. So we did have some feedback from that strategy as part of the consultation with the public at the time. And I understand that the appendix that I shared is an opening, so I'll share that with the committee afterwards. But essentially, the feedback says people do want more of a voice in decision making through the council. They do want different ways of engagement. So rather than just being digital, rather than just being online consultation or through public Wi-Fi, they are looking for more varied approaches that we can support. And I know, a bit of a theme that comes up in the scrutiny committee that you might sit on is that when we're consulting on a document or a strategy, members do feel like we would like to broaden that approach to include more face-to-face interaction with the public. So this paper aims to support all those requirements really. So we're looking at facilitating feedback from our residents on key decisions in that face-to-face setting through ward meetings. The proposal is that we would have 2 ward meetings per year. So the first one would be around budget consultation. So that's arguably most important decisions taken in the year as a council. So that would happen in January. They would go out to each ward as required by members. So this is still discretionary requirement. So the budget consultation would be the first meeting, and then approximately 6 months later, we look to go out there with another ward meeting focused on our performance. So we've got our service plans which we're going through now and our strategies, and having a bit of a feedback session with residents on how we performed against those measures. So the board meetings would continue to be supported by senior officers, which is what has happened for quite a few years now, and they would continue to be supported, excuse me, on an administrative basis. So as a council, we would book the venues, set those up, we would help with the publicity and promoting those sessions so that they are as well as attended as we possibly make them. As I say, this would still be discretionary, so this would be down to board members' requirements. Potentially, if everybody wanted both board meetings, 42 meetings a year. So this is a significant support being provided by the council to make sure that those meetings happen. I think the key thing is around this consistent approach, so making sure that if you are a resident, you are getting the same information, you are being consulted on the same decisions, whilst also making sure that you as members feel supported in hosting those meetings and facilitating that feedback. So this isn't a material change to our constitution. The constitution already says that we support board meetings and they work each year, dependent on member requirements. This is just a proposed change to the arrangements in support of those. So as such, is this request to the committee and a decision that you would make, and then this would be shared with the council as part of the next usual process.
Okay, just to ask members, before we open it up for debate, would you like to see the responses to the consultation before we talk about this? Yeah, can we do that first? So that members have a better idea about where they are and what's going on here.
So this was consultation that was conducted, as I say, in support of the participation strategy earlier this year. So it is something that's been shared with the committee previously. As I say, the key points that were part of the consultation were around residents did want to be part of that decision-making process. They did want to engage with us in different ways. So rather than just consultation that happened online, the Wi-Fi, they were looking for a variety of engagement methods, really. And this is about supporting that approach that we've outlined in the participation strategy. Oh, you want it on screen?
Yes, please.
If I just share that with. Yeah,
That's fine.
also waiting for that to come up on screen. Share the document about the committee as well.
Unfortunately, two of us who haven't brought the technology with us.
It will be shared on the screen in a moment, but if I send it over, at least you've got a copy of it now. No. I join and share my screen.
Yeah, yes, that's okay.
Try and make it as
It was possible.
large as I can.
Speak about the crisis procedure.
So the first question was, are you confident that you could find out how why the council had taken a decision that you felt affected you? And you can see from the graph the majority of residents felt that they didn't. So there were a few comments there. Nothing is ever clear and straightforward. 2 days of bureaucracy, struggle to find reports and documents. So this would mitigate some of those challenges.
Can I just ask on that? We are talking about an improved website, aren't we? So presumably one of the priority items for the improved website would be to make these sorts of documents more accessible.
Around consultation documents.
Yes, yeah, and explanatory documents. I mean, I really don't think there's been an awful lot of improvement in the planning documents, for example, planning application documents. They're a bit better than they used to be, but there's still no logic. You know, it's counterintuitive. It's only sort of through trial and error. So you know, I would expect if this argument was being made that there was probably ought to be some reference to the other steps which are going to be taken to facilitate this.
I think one of the things that we'll be looking at bringing back to the committee in the new year is an update on the participation strategy. So we've got the strategy that we set out as adopted by council in May this year. So I think towards February date, we'll be looking to share a paper with the committee on, okay, this is what we set out to do, this is how we progressed, and perhaps look at if there were any amendments and changes we want to make as a working document, because I know it was our baseline. We would look to review it and improve as we went on. So if I look at some of the comments here, sorry, they don't listen to the people's views. The council continues to ignore feedback, consultation, limited engagement, and you know, an effort on the behalf of the council to do. Then we outlined the key elements of the strategy and sought feedback. Talk of technology, one of my vulnerable groups who don't or can't rely on technology, so looking to facilitate these board meetings this way will remove some of those digital barriers because people just to us. The next set of feedback was around, you know, improving residents' engagement with councillors. This would tick that box as well. Again, looking at social media, so residents thought that there would be different and other ways to engage other than that. Be visible in your authority area, ask what matters to residents. Transparency. So lots of the themes there really in the feedback would support different ways of engagement, and really important to note that this is the one and this is around looking at our overall participation strategy. How are we working towards fulfilling those aims and targets that we set out?
just to comment, Chair, they're quite angry, aren't they? A lot of the responses to this quite frustrated.
This is the problem when you use this kind of system to allow people to comment. It's the same if you look at the Argus.
Yes,
You know, you put a story in the Argus, and the abuse sometimes is absolutely appalling. But people hide behind names that you don't know who they are. And I think at least with sort of neighbourhood committee meetings, because people are there and they're accountable for what they're saying, a lot of that abuse may well move away.
Maybe not in some ways.
Maybe not, but I think generally it does. You know, people are more open to having a sensible conversation rather than a rant, you know, and a tide of abuse, because they can't hide behind the names or whatever. And you see them all in the Argus continually. And quite frankly, I'm surprised the Argus allow it.
Well, it's wrong. It's not even, doesn't even stick to the point. It's a participation thing. It wouldn't be so.
Just to comment on that, you recall, Chair, previously those subjects would be unprecedented sexist comment in the practice. It's about the whole range of things that stage with women comment favourably on those rather than the leader of the council. And that has stopped after the intervention of the cabinet to spend a long time discussing this with Argus owners. They come back now to yes, we do comments on the acts. They're not directed at the leader of the council. They're directed at anything there. So that's just something to be asked to address.
None of us are immune to it, unfortunately, and get it. Okay. Should we open up for the debate then, for the chat? Kate, you've indicated.
Yeah, I mean, going through the papers, quite a few things, because Stonehill have always actively participated in this ability to have ward meetings and have very much regretted that they couldn't be reinstated sooner and not really understood the reasons why they couldn't be reinstated sooner. You know, there are quite a few comments I want to make. Firstly, I would like to say, although being presented with a report like this, it looks like the ward meetings are a major piece of the participation strategy. It looks like this is the whole presentation of the participation strategy. Clearly, I realise it isn't. This is just one thread, one strand running through this. But it is a particularly important strand. And I think some of the strengths of having ward meetings are actually lost in this document. I'm sure, Chair, as we go through different sections, other people raise things, maybe other points that occur to me. But I think that, you know, the main thing to me is we stand in danger here of just promoting the agenda of the council and not of our residents. A major strength of the board meetings we held 3 times a year, every year for 11, well, for 9 years until COVID. We held them 3 times a year, and they were very much led by what our residents out in the community, if they turned up, they had an opportunity to raise these issues, and they did. And if they weren't always the attended the meetings, but we knew that we were putting that out there, and this was big strength. I also think that the way it's presented here, it talks about no one else on the panel other than councillors and senior, I welcome senior council officials, obviously, but it doesn't talk about our partners, because very often, you know, we do work in partnership. The most significant partner who would present at the ward meetings were the police, and you know, our residents don't normally have a chance to sort of ask questions of the police. It's perhaps we have an opportunity on their behalf for council meetings, but they don't. So these were threads of this which were very important. And rather than saying we're going to talk tonight about the budget has a place in anything we talk to residents about. I'm sure we agree with that. But we also all know we will have local issues which arise, and it would not be desirable for the council to be saying they're having a meeting about this. this is the agenda. Now, we always had an agenda, we always had minutes, we would let people know what actions had been taken afterwards at the following meeting. But to phrase it in this way, as if these proposals seek to, restore something chaotic, to something, something better organised and everything, wrong. To me, the biggest point I want to make is, are we saying 2 meetings are sufficient? We've had 3, which were popular. You could do overkill on these things, but I don't like this prescribed thing, because actually the ways that we have as councillors are somewhat limited to feedback on the other issues which are brought to us as elected representatives.
Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah, a number of things, really, Chair. In regards to the ward meetings, we're talking about 2. Elizabeth, or is that a maximum?
That's, as I understand it, it would be 2 meetings per year, one to discuss the budget and one to discuss the council's performance. So they would be quite prescriptive on what was being placed before you. And I think that some of this is around that I don't think the council will have the staffing levels to send out minute takers to have more meetings.
Right. Would there be an opportunity for wards to have extra ward meetings with senior officers there?
I can't answer that, Trevor. I don't know. Personally, I'll just tell you now that to get an officer now out to meet residents is practically impossible. I had a meeting last week with highways officers who refused to have any members of the public, including the head teacher of the school, present.
So, yeah, the support provided through the council, through the senior officers, through the administrative support, and the minutes as you talk about, Councillor Thomas, that would be 2 meetings a year. But again, really important to understand this isn't the only way to engage with residents in the local area. It doesn't replace surgeries, it doesn't replace those localised networks that you already have in place. So, as the Chair said, this is around almost formalising the support that we're able to provide, and 42 ward meetings a year is a significant investment in that support. I'm just trying to target that support at what are the key things that we hear back from our residents the most about. Residents are telling us that they want more engagement that isn't consulting on these important decisions just online, and it is to try and look at that participation strategy, albeit this isn't the only part of it, to make sure that we are listening and responding and trying to change things and move forward in line with residents' wishes, as well as providing that support to our members. Not all members are as experienced in the ward meetings, so I think having that senior office support there to support them, as well as the admin support, provides that assurance across the piece, really. And there is something in there about that consistent approach to making sure that everybody is getting some of the key messages.
Yeah, I don't think we disagree with that at all. A lot of us who've held board meetings would agree it's good to have a senior officer there. Usually one of the strategic directors or similar would come to board meetings. They're in a position and don't necessarily have to go down. They can give general responses to things like your planning or something like this. They can talk about the council's overall strategy. But I think these the alternatives you talked about don't actually address the issues here. This is the only opportunity we have for our residents to come together so they can actually know what other people are thinking as well. It's not the same to have a surgery. It's very much a confidential process between us and the individuals. To get an email, we don't need email responses. That would be very inappropriate for a start. To have a phone call, these aren't shared. So this is an opportunity for people to come together and actually judge for themselves, what their neighbours feel.
Thank you, Trevor. Back to you.
I understand what you're getting at, Kate, but the question I asked whether we could have extra ones for ward surgery. The chair is saying, and the officers are saying, these are prescriptive meetings. They are solely for budget and the outcomes at the end. The other thing is, I could understand when I was a single board member and in this, but now I'm roughly with one of the two biggest within Newport. What is the position and having residents dialing remotely to those meetings? Is that on the cards or not?
That's something I've considered as part of this. If yeah, I mean, potentially we could look at it, but this is clearly intended to be a different way of engaging rather than being through technology. So we're looking at something to augment it and act in a different way rather than some of the ways that we already do really well. So we already have some really good public Wi-Fi consultation. We have really good interactions through social media. So this was about doing something a little bit different so that perhaps the people don't want to engage in those ways that we already do. There's something to offer them.
I understand that people still like to be face to face, even if it's through technology. The other thing is, I'm assuming that this is not going to be in place for this budget.
We would be looking at trying to put as many together as we could for those members who would want that to run. Yeah. So there obviously there is a consultation period that we would have to work within. Next tomorrow, in the consultation then runs until the 2nd of February. So there is a tight timeline to get. Could be 21 meetings. Yes. So dependent on member feedback, who wants those supported, then we would look to support those in January.
Thank you, Chair. No.
Yes, I understand the two board meetings and why they're there, but well, last night we had a meeting with residents on a certain subject at a certain area where officers did turn up. We wouldn't be looking to stop them.
It's dependent on the need and what a particular topic was. Yeah, certainly.
I was reading this as that you were kind of digital hour meetings, so twice a year, so that you have an agenda, so you can talk about your topics with the council, etc. But I was seeing this is that we kind of have one meeting, I will have the agenda in the ward meetings as well.
I think potentially is around listening to that feedback from residents around, okay, there are big decisions being made all the time in the council, and as I say, arguably the budget setting is the biggest one in the year. So around those residents wanting a way of engaging. So part of our duty under the Local Government and Elections Act is to let people know about decisions that are making.
I was sort of reading from it. You've got Pat Revel, you've got Pat Revel agenda. They discuss council issues, like the budget, etc. So we would still carry on with every ward meetings and discussing what's the way I was treated.
No, I didn't make it like that. No, I mean, as an elected member, I think that our residents through us should be setting the agenda, bringing up issues that they want to bring up. I don't think it's appropriate for the council officers to be telling our residents of a limited range of things that they want to discuss.
My other question would be, how are you going to advertise this? Because I'm in the biggest ward in Newport, and sometimes we can have 30, 40 residents in. The last week we had autumn, so we're going to advertise and a lot of the residents, the other residents, and on social media, etc. So we basically got to go into a leaflet drop, trying to just get residents to know what's going on. We advertising about 2 clubs and stuff like that as well. So my concern is that I did write Democratic services available because we advertise on active. We just told we can't because we're past the political. So I just wonder.
Not political, it shouldn't be political.
No, that's what I thought. That's what I was saying. But what I'm trying to get at is how you can advertise. Advertising. I think you need to get by with if you do it by social media and stuff, you're not getting to all the residents.
I think you're right. Social media is a really good tool, and that is helpful for lots of people. But there are less digitally engaged resident that we need to be mindful of. I know historically we've done things like putting posters up, and things have been shared in key places in the community. I think if we were looking at a formalised standard approach to board meetings, yes, we could put in, you know, this is what's happening in January, albeit maybe not this year, but we missed the deadline. So we could support it through that way. Ad hoc surgeries and things like that, there will be some to try to do this. Yeah, as this random set of, you know, these are happening in January, these are happening in September type thing. Yes, we could certainly use it.
No, don't contain on the website. They could appear there, couldn't they?
Yeah,
This is the rolling table of board meetings.
It used to, didn't it? Used to advertise it, it was an atlas. Board meetings.
But and the website, well, I don't think is there on the website the old duty? They haven't made easy to find.
If you feel you want to commit,
Thank you, Chair. I wrote to the Chief Executive after the council elections to ask about having our normal July board meetings and Julians. We did my co-councillors. We'd have to about democratic services. The other time, I certainly didn't understand why you have about the democratic services. But this is a real diminution of services to our residents. Other members have spoken about the flexibility of the ward meetings, where the topics were agreed with the chair, will change the chair in case for what I don't know, as a ward series, and some wards didn't want anything at all. But I think the options spelled out for us here on page 13 to either approve the framework moving forward, particularly like it was in order, or not to approve the framework. Amendments at this stage. I do note the statement that's here of that in there, because it would be put in place, as the said in time for the budget settings this upcoming year. But by agreeing this morning, we will be putting these board meetings in shape forever and a day. They're unlikely to ever go back to 3. I'm unaware of any boards having had 4, but that might be an option. The bigger board, because they've got 4 councillors, might want to consider. We take the chair on a rotating basis on some periods. Again, I don't know other boards do it. So I think with your advice, Chair, the options are fairly straightforward for us. Either move this morning, I'm not going to ask the officers to go back and consider the flexibility points we made.
I think really it comes down to what you want from this. For me, the council shouldn't be prescriptive about what we're talking about. The agendas on these, as Kate correctly said, should be set by residents. So we have a ward meeting. The residents tell us at the next ward meeting they want to discuss the number of takeaways in the ward or the bus service or whatever, and we get along with people to discuss those issues with them. The police, Newport transport, Newport city homes, maybe if you've got issues around social housing in the ward. This doesn't allow that to happen.
Exactly.
Now, in terms of moving forward, and as Phil said, sticking the tail that we wouldn't get this in place for this budget process, but we haven't had it in place for the last number of budget processes, so I probably think one more wouldn't be too dreadful, but we'd have it in place properly then for the next sessions. Because that's up to you. I'm just one for vote on this. Yes, of course, Mark.
Yeah, I think I think the agenda shouldn't just be a set agenda by the council, it should be an open agenda. And I also agree with your budget, how tight it is now, and then would we get the 24 awards in a month to, I think it would be very hard to, if it was to go with it.
We can push this back and get it properly.
Just the other taking consideration is some wards are lot smaller than others. I'm in the largest ward, so we have 4 board meetings a year. If we go get rid of the ward, 12,000 people to speak to, potentially there's other wards that only got 3,000, so that needs to take consideration as well. Some wards will be
It is the logistics of the ward. You know, my ward and Kate's ward are pretty compact. They're quite large, they're compact, whereas Trevor's ward goes on forever.
Yeah.
You know, he's from Peterstone to Tredegar Park, basically. Trevor, it's a huge ward, you know, massive. Milestone in Vedu, it's a massive ward. So there are logistical problems for all of us. And you know, you talk, Trevor, about having digital contact in these board meetings. Well, that might cause a problem because then we've got to find a venue that can support that.
Can I just come back on that? We've set a rough rota in regards to community councils. Community councils now have had finance from Welsh Government to set up that remote dialing system. So I was wondering whether Welsh Government through NCC could finance that type of thing.
So should we now then have, go around the table, have the recommendations that you want to see in this report, so they can go back to the anchor, take them away and work around them. So do you think that's the way forward?
Yeah, Chair, can I just say, you know, I was surprised about the options on page 13. Can I just refer to what I said to start with? I recognise this as being just one thread in the participation strategy. Now, this acceptance of the framework, are you asking us here, is it being proposed that we accept the participation strategy?
It's not the strategy itself,
It's just this one
the report from our twice a year to consider feedback from residents on this topic.
I think it needs to be reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
let me just comment on what Chris said. Digital strategy for the council is great. You'll have that, but a large number of residents who don't engage at all with the IT systems. Not only are residents, which you say they haven't rolled out with it, even residents, many other people that just don't engage with IT, but they do engage with this face-to-face stuff. And our ward is very well attended. People, you know, some of them have to go and some are just genuinely interested in what's going on.
so can we have some recommendations from you then about what you want to see in this report when it comes back to you?
Not a prescription or a prescribed 2 meetings. I would like to have that option of 3 meetings. We found them necessary instead of 2, so that we can address the wide range of issues that our constituents bring to us.
Thank you, Kate. Trevor?
Yeah, I'm quite willing to accept this framework as a minimum, but obviously I would still like to see members being able to arrange other board meetings with an officer there.
You want additional meetings as issues arise within your ward?
On specific issues. But you mentioned like you've got city homes, highways,
But not
military services and that type of thing, but this wouldn't be wouldn't be on a permanent basis. Let's say, for instance, an issue came up in regards to the budget, for instance, in regards to social services, then perhaps we can have a special ward meeting for that particular item.
Would you agree with Kate that you would like 3, let's call them neighbourhood committee meetings, to stop the confusion, 3 neighbourhood committee meetings a year, and then any additional ones that you think that you might need should there be an issue?
A request.
Okay.
I'm happy to say a minimum of 2 meetings a year, and then any further requests, as we did last night, taken into account.
Thank you. Bill?
But the agenda we set, coordinating it with the chair of the meeting, as has been done previously. Review again the number.
Andrew?
I'm happy with what you're proposing here. My only concern is that so if you go for your 2 meetings a year, I'm quite happy with that really, is that just support the meeting through keys. And again, it's like, we have 4 people in the board because of that, you meant to keep on. You might get them too.
Let's go to some people online. Councillor Pym, do you have any comment?
Hello, I'm happy with all those proposals.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harvey?
Yes, I'm happy with a minimum of 2 because we're the same. We hold 4 meetings per month, and usually the residents, if they want a ward meeting, they're likely to voice their opinion. I think we've had, the last one was before I was a councillor, so it was about 18 months ago. So I'm happy to go with a minimum of 2 and additional ones if needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If I can
Thank you.
Thank you. So the feedback committee. So there were a few looking at, accepting that 2 meetings as a minimum would be going forward. They say there's some strong feelings about 3 meetings in some wards. Having an agenda set by the coordinators, so the members and the residents, rather than having it fully prescribed. And support for other meetings on an ad hoc basis. What I would say, happy to take the feedback and we'll have another look at it, but there will be a limit on the amount of meetings that can be supported by senior officers and administration. As you know, we're making decisions over the next few months, and some of the challenges around capacity we'll have to be able to support will feed into whatever we come back with as another. So
if you definitely the stage the officers will have to be there for everything. If you're having a ward meeting specifically for police issues, then there's no need for really council officers to see them, or for Newport City Homes for that. We can require possibly a senior officer from Newport City Homes or a senior member of the police to monitor that.
You would require help in advertising and make sure you give that meeting. Okay. Now, so there's quite some significant changes there. So is there an opportunity for us to meet again this month to hammer this out and then push it through at an agreed date for council? Or are we going to be looking now at waiting possibly until January to talk about this again?
Yeah, I think given the timelines, it's going to be January.
Right.
Now, Chair, can I just ask something there? You mentioned about the advertising of this. I would like to see in this strategy an undertaking by officers that they will recognise the commitment to advertising in certain ways. Because at the moment, I mean, certainly in Stonehill, what was done for us was a poster would be produced, which is obviously a standard poster, and the date is just changed. It didn't even really give details what's necessarily going to be discussed with our incidents, tended to set that at the meeting. But I would like to see some commitment to say, yes, we will put this on the front page of the website on a rolling basis so that that information is out there for all the boards, or we will, we will put this in report letters, or, but I mean, the councillors themselves are doing the majority of this, which is not, I always ended up printing out more leaflets for this myself, and we did the footwork in digging them through people's doors.
Yeah, certainly we can look at that. And again, some of the requests, there will be some costings around that, so we need to look at making sure that it is fair and it is equitable and it can be supported within budgets.
Yes, thank you.
So that. Yeah. We're not going with the third option, we're going with option 2. And we're going to get that further information. And we're going to have another meeting in January to basically have this out. And
it is rather disappointing that this couldn't have come through earlier, because it has been discussed for a long time now. The question has been asked about when we can return to more meetings.
if people feel that they want additional democratic services meetings because they think there's important issues to be discussed. I'm happy to facilitate that and do those meetings. It's not an issue for me. So we're going with option 2. Are we all agreed on that?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Date of the next meeting. Well, it will be on Tuesday, the 21st of February, but we will be looking at the date, an early date in January. So if you can consult on that and get that in place as soon as possible, so no members are here. And if you can put together something quite quickly on this, and get it out to the members so that they can have a look at it, and then they can come back to you if they have any additional comments they want to make via email to you. Is everyone happy with that? Yeah.
Right. When is the next council meeting? That's in January, I believe.
I think it's February, isn't it, the budget?
Yes, but there is a budget bond at the end of February. Is there anything? Yeah. That's going to come in
February.
February.
Yeah.
So if we have it in January, I think we already in February.
And then really at council, when it's close to council, then it should be a matter of just note to the minutes and for members want to comment, they can. If they don't, they don't.
So, Chair, this would have happened on the council, whatever happened.
Yes.
So irrespective of any decision we made today, it couldn't have been implemented in time for the budget consultation was.
Yeah, because it's not a material change to, you know, we are still going to have ward meetings, we are still going to support them, it's just changing how they support it.
I mean, I think we see it's a substantial change, yeah.
That's why I should.
Or a substantial proposal of change. Yeah.
So there are no other matters, so we'll close the meeting. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for attending.